provincial NDP leader. She's making an announcement about Doug Ford's broken promises. This is Queen's Park.
To transparency and integrity. We see what's happening here in our province. We know that this government particularly is favoring its buddies, while at the same time families are looking for an affordable place to live. And Doug Ford's focus has been his developer friends. We know that folks are desperate for help for their children who have autism, and this government has turned their back on those families and on those kids, and yet they're happy to use public money for political partisan advertising. We know that the line between the lobbyist and the government advisor has completely blurred. It's completely been erased by Doug Ford and his lobbyist pals. What we know, though, is that we can start to shine a light on the backroom deals and the backroom discussions that have become the norm here in Ontario. People deserve to have that kind of transparency, and people deserve to come first, not the buddies of the reigning party. And so we've made a number of commitments, and we've talked about these things a lot along the way. So we just want to remind people where New Democrats stand when it comes to transparency, to openness, and to creating an environment where people can start to begin to trust their government again. So, for example, we are prepared to reverse the election finance changes that Doug Ford brought forward. And folks will perhaps remember that he made changes that allowed lots of more money into the process with less accountability and less transparency. So we're gonna change that up and make sure that elections are determined by people, not by the amount of money that can be driven into a campaign. We want to also restore the ban that was put on restore the legislation that banned partisan ads from being undertaken by sitting governments. This is something that Kathleen Wynne and Stephen Del Duca got rid of, but we think that ban is important. Public money should never be used for partisan purposes. And this is something that the Auditor General used to oversee. And of course, we know that Kathleen Wynne got rid of that oversight, and that needs to come back. Public money should only be used to provide the services that people need to build a good life in our province. We also want to clean up the appointments process so that an all-party committee does have the opportunity to review government appointments, and we have to make sure that chairs of public boards are never involved in partisan activity. And we've seen a lot of that over the last little while, and it's completely unacceptable. There has to be a separation between the chairs of boards of our public institutions and our public organizations and direct partisan activity. We also want to see some changes to the lobbyist process. We know that the Integrity Commissioner has made some recommendations in that regard. We want to make sure that every single lobbyist meeting is available, that it's reported, that we know who it is that's in the ear of a sitting government at any possible time. I know it's hard to believe that this, that we can actually clean this mess up. But I know that we can, and I've given some examples of how we get started on that work, and so I'm happy to let folks know that we are committed to.
All right, you've been listening to Andrea Horwath live from Queen's Park, provincial NDP leader discussing Doug Ford, saying that the lines between lobbyists to government have been blurred under his tenure as premier. Too much cronyism, too many backroom deals, provincial politics becoming a little too linear for her liking, reversing some election financing changes, restoring a ban on partisan ads, and reviewing independent government appointments. All these pledges if the NDP is elected in June.